Hi guys, this is Nate doing another video for 3drcforums.com for the 3D PDF, and tonight I am working on rolling Harriers and hope that I can pass along something of value to folks trying to learn how to do this awesome maneuver. The first thing to learn with rolling Harriers is to get a good stir. You're kind of stirring the sticks. I'll just demonstrate briefly real quick what the sticks look like when you're doing a rolling Harrier. And at full speed this can look a little bit overwhelming to someone who is new to trying to learn how to fly 3D or RC. However, you don't bite it all off at once, and there are some things to learn along the way that help you to develop it. So the first place that most people have you start, or that they recommend you start, is to do slow rolls. And maybe point rolls help you to learn this, because you can see when I do a point roll, I'm required to put a little bit of rudder when it's on its side to keep it level, and same thing, elevator, up down elevator when it's inverted, other rudder, so left rudder right now, and then you don't have to usually give any elevator because you're trimmed for level flight, but I mean, you can see how that kind of introduces the idea of those stick inputs. So here I am flying still on the wing. I'm not in a Harrier attitude, but for me to keep this roll going, even though it's a little faster than it was, requires all of those inputs. Okay, so if you didn't have a simulator, that's how you would learn rolling Harriers, and it would probably take you the rest of your natural life. So now, that was fun. So now I'm going to show you a trick with the simulator that you can use to develop this a lot faster. You're going to go into the simulation menu and choose physics and choose custom. This is available also in earlier versions of Real Flight. However, you don't have this interface, but the ability to slow down the physics is still there, and you get there from roughly the same path, if I remember correctly. However, you can see right now that this is slowed down to 100%. Or I mean, it's set at 100%, normal. It's just normal. So I'm going to turn it down to around 60%. And we'll see that the plane flies a lot different. Well, it flies the same, just slower. See, I peg the throttle and it's like, whoa, so much slower, right? So what this does is it allows you to practice that stir in an actual Harrier attitude, and give you more chances at getting those inputs in the right time. Before you crash, basically. Because to begin with, you're going to lose it and you're going to crash, and that's okay. That's just how it works to learn. But what this does is it lets you practice with the physics slowed down, and you still get to do it in real time. And for me, this is what made it all click. This is my big tip, big secret for learning rolling Harriers, is this right here. So at first, even this fast is going to be too fast for some people, and that's okay. Just turn it down further. However, whatever it takes to be able to develop that stir. I mean, I don't care if it takes 30 seconds for this to make one full revolution. You know, you could turn it down that far if you wanted to. So the key also is, aileron has to be pegged. You're not going to be able to deal with having that partially in and be able to do the other stick inputs with reliability. And so you're going to be pegging that aileron either right or left, however you decide to learn it. I learned left first. Right is harder for me. I'm still working on getting it down good. But anyway, so slowing down the simulator is a big key. And then you just go, you'll be like, oh, I can do that pretty good. Go ahead and go to the simulation menu, choose physics, go to custom, and turn it up, say, I don't know, 10%. Okay, now let's see how much faster that is. Okay, it's a little faster, right? So I'm going to do this till I start to feel comfortable, and all of this is in one session, hopefully, that you go through a few phases of learning it slower and speeding it up a little bit more, and then you're just going to just do this incrementally until you can't keep up anymore. So I'll turn it up another 10%, and now it's like, hey, look, I'm 80% of reality. This is cool, right? And then you just, you know, at first you might, I know I practiced this for a long time. I spent hours and hours doing this, guys. So don't be frustrated if you spend an hour or two or a half hour or something and aren't getting it really well, because it's not something you're going to learn, at least unless you're just a million times more talented than me, which is highly possible. But it's not something you're going to learn in 1 or 2 sessions. It's not something you're going to learn in 1 or 2 days. So just keep that in mind. I know when I decided to really dedicate some practice time to this, I kind of said, well, this weekend I'm going to at least learn the fundamentally basic stir and everything of rolling Harriers. And by the end of the weekend, I was doing it okay, pretty slow, but when I went online with some people, I wasn't able to do it in real time, and how's that for a crash? Wasn't able to do it in real time, and got frustrated a little bit, and finally asked for some help online with some of the guys that were flying there, and that actually was a huge benefit, and I highly recommend taking that route if and when you get frustrated. So just keep that in mind, because there was just one little thing. I think I was just giving it too much rudder input or something. I can't remember what it was now, but there was one little thing I was doing that was throwing it funky, and someone was able to sort of troubleshoot and help me fix that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this back up to, well, maybe we'll keep it at this speed for now, and I'm going to talk about how to steer in a rolling Harrier. There's already a really great graphic in the 3Dpedia that I believe Aaron Bates made. If that's not right, I'm sure someone will correct me, or but anyway, talking about when to give your inputs, and I focus on elevator inputs for steering, and I'm sure as I progress I'll worry more about rudder inputs as well, but for me, since I'm more comfortable rolling to the left, the first thing I learned was to turn or make a circle to the right. And the way I do that, the way you do it opposite direction of the way your aileron stick is pointed, is to have early timing. So you can see, like, if I push on that elevator if I push on that nose right when it's facing me, for instance in this attitude, it's going to go ahead and push that nose around, and I'm still able to maintain my altitude and safety while I steer that. So it's just early timing is what's going to do that for me. Actually, I'm struggling to do that on this reduced speed, but same thing going the other way, if I can get it to happen here. Early timing pushes that nose around. Okay. So to roll the other way, or to turn the other way, the same direction as your aileron stick, is late timing. And I actually really struggle with this still, so I don't steer it very well, but I'm starting to get the hang of it. It's sort of a different feel, and it's scary. It's nerve-wracking for me. So the first thing you're going to learn is to roll the opposite, or turn the opposite direction of your aileron stick. Okay, it's the easiest place to start. The next intermediate challenge, I guess, in terms of rolling Harriers, is to learn how to go straight, which is just going to be, like instead of late or early, I guess you'd call it like a medium timing, or timing it when the canopy is, the plane is, the wings are parallel to the ground, I guess, on the elevator. So you can see I'm meandering back and forth a little bit because going straight is actually probably the most challenging in terms of just control. It's trickier. Turning is easier, honestly. I think I sometimes will do a little better job when the plane's coming towards me like this. I can maintain that straight line a lot better when the plane's coming towards me than when it's going away. Another thing I'll say on the circle, when you're doing this circle as you first start to learn, about right here is when you start wanting to chicken out, to get like to that spot where it's just starting to come back around towards you. And right here might be a good place for you to fly away at first. Don't risk your model, gain confidence on the simulator, and I know it took me a while, and still sometimes I get that uneasy feeling and bail on my circle before I make it all the way around, because it can get nerve-wracking at that particular point. You just don't see the model as well, and it can get it to be challenging, and especially since it's coming towards you, you're like, oh man, what if I can't turn it in time and it just runs over everybody in the pits, So just, don't be afraid to just, at this point when you're first learning, it's okay to just, throw it into an inverted Harrier, or just just stop rolling and fly away, or go into another trick. You don't need to risk your model and people unnecessarily to begin with. Just develop confidence, and I'm all about developing confidence in maneuvers on the simulator, and then working on them with my real planes, because I've crashed thousands of simulator planes and only a few real planes, and it would be really sad to crash thousands of real planes learning the things that you learn. And what really ultimately happens is you see guys not developing. There are guys at my club field that have been flying for 20 years that can't do any of this stuff. And, part of it's that they never wanted to and it wasn't invented, but the other part, though, is unless you have a risk-free way to practice, you're just not going to develop those skills. At least that's my opinion. So, anyway, that's the basics of rolling Harrier. Start out with slow rolls, develop a stir, turn down your real flight's physics. Don't worry about steering at first. Just worry about just keeping the plane in the air, keeping the nose up, and in a Harrier attitude. Um, Now, I will say if you haven't learned to Harrier proficiently yet, that's the place to start. Don't even worry about bothering with rolling Harriers till you can manage upright Harrier at least. And hopefully you can do an inverted Harrier as well. Anyway, hope that helps some people, and fly low.